Hello, long time no see. It's been a little while since I did one of these little episodes, but amazingly enough, people seem to want to instruct me. I've been rather busy with work, but anyway, I'm taking a little break in our garden actually today. The garden is normally the responsibility of Caroline, my wife. My role tends to be of the more destructive and disposal of the fruits of destruction nature to the local dump. But anyway, this morning when I woke up, I looked out of the window and was greeted with the sight of a magnificent sparrowhawk perched on the lawn, devouring a still alive wood pigeon. It carried on doing that quite happily for a couple of minutes and then flew away with what remained of the hapless pigeon in its talons. So there we are, nature was red in tooth and claw in the Tromans garden first thing this morning. Anyway, speaking of moribund pigeons, I wanted to say a little bit about Boris Johnson's pledge for new offshore wind in his speech to the Conservatives yesterday, which has generated a lot of interest, I think. 40 gigawatts is proposed with quite new technology, not in widespread deployment, of floating turbines anchored by cables in some way to the seabed. And what I note is that that's very ambitious, and I'm all for ambition, but it's going to cost much more than has so far been committed. I think we're talking probably in the order of 50 billion or so. And that isn't perhaps inconsistent with the sorts of figures that Germany, for example, in its green package for recovery in June, was putting out for investment in zero carbon. It's talking in the terms of the tens of billions of euros. I haven't quite heard the government talking in terms of the tens of billions of pounds sterling just yet, but that's exactly what's going to be needed. And also what's going to be needed is great consistency, drive and persistence in terms of policy. We're looking at a new energy white paper coming out perhaps later this year. It'll be very interesting to see what's in that. I'll no doubt come and say a few things about it when it comes out on some broadcast like this. But we've been bedevilled really over the years with shifts in policy and sort of one-offs really. So nuclear is a good example, isn't it? The drive under Tony Blair for a new fleet of nuclear generating stations. So far we're building one, we're trying to get permission to build a second, but how they're going to be funded is completely obscure, save for the first at Hinkley Point, where a deal was reached which politically won't be acceptable again, I don't believe. The only way of doing these things is actually for the government to stump up some money and take an equity stake or direct investment in the project if these things are going to be built. And I think there's a lot of infrastructure like that which is going to be necessary in terms of resilience of the grid, storage, carbon capture and storage if that ever gets going, simply the infrastructure for the charging up of electric vehicles on a reliable nationwide basis. And in a COVID-ravaged economy, it's going to take a lot of guts for any government to be willing to commit and follow through on that sort of expenditure. But it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise we're going to end up with, again, a series of stop-starts and backing the wrong horses, like biomass burning wood chips shipped over from America and so on, or short-term expediency will derail what should be a clear path towards 2050. So while I've been working today, I've been listening just sort of on and off to the first day of the hearing of the Supreme Court in the Heathrow challenge. It'll be fascinating to see what comes out of that in terms of what the court makes of the question of commitment to the Paris Agreement. So anyway, those are my thoughts. We'll return to the subject of energy, no doubt, but can I give you a little trailer on something? You may not be aware that as well as doing law, I'm very keen on art, and I've developed a particular style of art as an oil painter and other media sometimes too. I have put out a catalogue in aid of the legal charities under the London Legal Walk, which went on this week but is fundraising for the rest of the month. and I've got 20 paintings for sale. If you go onto the 39 Essex Chambers website, you can see them. You may or may not like them, it's up to you, but if you do, you might like to consider buying one of them, and money would be going towards very important legal charities for those who need access to justice but simply can't get it at the moment, legal funding being what it is. So have a look. I'll leave that with you. I'll say goodbye for now. Thanks for listening again, and I'll be in touch at some point in the future. I'm not going to return to doing anything in the garden. I'm going to go inside and have a nice cup of tea. So goodbye for now.